Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Jump Up Supercast Game Club. It's me, your host, Brandon, and I'm not alone today. I'm joined by the capital of sin and punishment, Will.
Hey, paisanos.
I also got with me today, Ilse.
Hey, what's up? What's up, boys? Japan's a mess.
I've also got Saf. He's always here, except for last week.
I still have one more mission to do. It's for my child.
And Noah, I'm throwing this to you, and I really hope you're gonna do what I think you're gonna do. I got Noah.
I do not know what you expect me to do.
No.
It went
Just said
perfectly.
plasma again.
I was hoping for a little get bonus. That's what I was hoping
Oh, shit. Missed opportunity.
Oh, well, we didn't get the bonus, but we did get a lot of bonuses while we played Sin and Punishment this week. Sin and Punishment on the Nintendo 64. Nintendo 64! Get
My
excited
brain went
about
there,
the Nintendo
too.
64, please. 2 weeks in a row, by the way. We're the Nintendo 64 podcast, if you didn't know this.
Yep.
But yeah, we played Sin and Punishment, and this game was brought to us by a guy named Ilse.
Yeah.
Ilse,
Me. I did it.
why did you pick Sin and Punishment?
It was I think it was translated in the Wii era to English, and
It was.
I wanted to take a stab at it because I heard a lot of good things, just through cultural osmosis, just hearing it around, and so I wanted to give it a shot. Back then, I didn't get very far. The controls were kind of an issue, but now I wanted to give it another go, so that's why I decided to bring it to you guys.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you picked it, because I have barely played it, because I bought it on the Wii, and then for whatever reason I played it for like 5 minutes, never picked it up, and I heard a lot of stuff about it.
I had heard a lot of things about it too, but
Yeah.
none of it, from what I heard, were what I thought it was the game. So that was a complete shock to me.
That is for sure.
Well, there's
But
no
this
way
game-
they can condense that game into any kind of.
I mean, they did a pretty good job condensing the story into a fucking 1 hour game that it is.
We'll talk about exactly why this game is. You can't just explain it in 2 minutes. That's for sure. But it was originally released only in Japan on the Nintendo 64 back in November of 2000. So pretty late N64 game. The N64 was maybe had like a year left.
Yeah.
So it came out later in its life cycle. It was developed by Treasure and in cooperation with Nintendo R&D 1 and published by Nintendo themselves. So this is definitely an interesting thing. You look at this game, it does not look like a game that Nintendo would publish, especially back then in the N64 days, right? Well, I mean, they had Perfect Dark, right, and they had GoldenEye, so they had a couple games that were more on the shooter, mature side of things. But it definitely doesn't. You don't look at this game, it doesn't scream Nintendo. That's for sure.
Nah.
I think it's worth mentioning. We'll mention it again, probably the name of this series, but like the artist who did a lot of the character artwork worked on briefly Neon Genesis Evangelion, and you can sort of see a little bit of it there, especially in the later stuff of the game.
Oh no, yeah, this game was heavily inspired by Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Yeah.
Like from the stories to the characters to the actual like mech alien stuff.
Yeah.
It's like very, very, very similar.
Which I had no idea of that stuff when we started out. But I think it's funny that you mentioned, Brandon, that it came out in 2000, because this game had like a 3-year-long development cycle, which for the time was pretty long, all things considered. And it was just one of Treasure's first like 3D environment games. Like they made Mischief Makers, but that was a 2D platformer.
Yeah.
And they also, it's the one thing that I feel like we kind of missed out on by playing it how we did, is that the whole idea was that they were going to make a game where you used the D-pad and the analog stick side of the 3-pronged N64 controller, basically.
Yeah, that was their main driving force into going into developing this game. They wanted to make a game that uses that because barely any games did.
Well, to be fair, that's kind of how I changed my my controls to feel anyway.
Yeah,
Because the D-pad is the right way to play this game.
Yeah.
agreed.
Yeah, definitely.
which is also of note I appreciate, though it's not the same. There's a left-handed mode for dumb idiots like me, where instead of using the D-pad, you use the C buttons, which is not equivalent, but at least they thought about me. So
Yeah.
Kind of like in Kid Icarus.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good. Very nice guys over at Treasure. And Treasure, this is the first Treasure game we played on the Game Club, and in the main podcast, I don't think we really talk about them a lot. But very interesting development studio. I really like a lot of their work, and
Lots of cult classics. Lots of
Yeah.
very intense games.
lots of. They're known for their difficulty for the most part for a lot of
Yep.
their games, and their action.
Yeah.
So it's. I'm glad we played a Treasure game. I've always liked Treasure a lot. From Gunstar Heroes to even
Yeah.
Wario World, which is interesting.
Guardian Heroes.
Yeah, they make
Ikaruga.
good stuff. And we talked about the development with how they wanted to have the controller held. But it was interesting reading up. I don't know if anybody else read up about the development of this game. How with Nintendo getting involved in it, Nintendo had to have them make the game easier. Believe it or not, the game's not that easy already.
No,
but Nintendo had to be like, "Yo, you guys need to make this game a little easier."
yeah.
Come on.
Well, because there's two difficulties, and I think that the easy mode was because they requested an easy mode. But it's funny because the easy mode, I only looked up the differences because I played on normal. But there's a couple of bosses that you don't get if you play on easy.
Yeah. You don't get some of the mini bosses.
Yeah, which is pretty wild.
Really, they just take them out completely.
Yeah.
I was playing in normal mode originally, and I had a bit of a hard time. I was still trying to learn the levels and get used to the controls. So I switched it to easy mode. I switched it by mistake, but I switched it to easy mode. And then when I was going through it, I was like, wow, this is this is a lot simpler. I was just running through these enemies. I felt really good about myself. But then I
Yeah.
realized it was easy mode, so I cried.
We don't think about that. It's fine. You're just really good.
I cried on the inside.
Yeah, and I actually appreciate that though, mentioning the mini bosses and stuff. It's not a long game. This is an hour, right? To run through, really 2 hours, depending on how many times you die. But
about 2 hours.
but they keep throwing different little scenarios at you using the same basic gameplay, right? Which is, I guess we should mention, it's like Panzer Dragoon or Star Fox or Space Harrier, right? Where you have a reticle, you play as this guy named Saki, and you're either running or you're standing still, but you're aiming with your reticle and dodging incoming attacks, right?
It's a rail shooter.
It's a
yeah.
rail shooter.
Yeah.
It's a rail shooter, shooting gallery type game. I love these kind of games. This game could have had an arcade port and it would have felt right at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I kept thinking back to. This feels like an arcade game.
Right. Especially because it's got the timer in the top that keeps extending the every time you get past a piece.
Yeah.
Every time you get a bonus.
Time bonus, yeah.
Yeah.
Get
Very
bonus.
simple as well in terms of control. You just have 3 buttons, 4 buttons.
How dare
You have
say
the shoot
controls are
button.
simple?
Shoot button, which also acts as a sword at the same time. You move
Left and right.
Yeah, and then there's a jump button, and there's also a button to switch between aiming styles, which
Yeah.
Alright.
which is also an interesting thing. How they give you 2 different aiming styles, with a lock on and a free form, and each
Yeah.
one comes in handy in different scenarios.
Situations.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
freeform one is a lot more powerful, where the lock-on is less powerful, but the auto-aim kind
It's a
of
lot
thing, once you
bigger.
lock on,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, the lock-on is really good for
Certain scenarios.
shooting back the enemy projectiles. You lock
Yeah.
on and then you do the counter move.
Yeah.
yeah. The sword thing. Oh man, I love it. I found myself using that a lot.
Yeah.
It was very helpful.
The first time I got game over with this, I was only using the lock on. It's well, why would I not use the lock on? And it was the reason why I got a game over was the part where I don't want to spoil this part.
You can spoil the
it
whole
was-
game. It's fine. The game's almost
That's
20
it.
years old.
All right, so it was basically the giant cannon was going to get shot into. Was going to shoot a bullet
Sake,
right into
yeah.
Sake.
Yeah.
I thought it was
Yeah,
like a
and you had to
boulder
shoot
falling
it.
towards him, wasn't it? Or like a bomb.
It was a giant bullet. It was like a
Either
nuke.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
coming to hit.
So
Yeah, I
basically
lost
you had
there
to
too, a couple of times. I was like,
Yeah.
I need to hit it faster. So
Yeah, you had to shoot it down, and
Yeah.
I just could not do enough damage to destroy it before it hit Saki. Then next time I got it, it was like, oh, I just have to switch it to like freeform, and then it was a lot easier.
I actually made that mistake too. And then on the final boss, you like have to have it on freeform. I feel like, at least for me, because there's shit all over the damn screen, and you have to constantly move all around to shoot it all.
Well, I kept switching between freeform and lock-on for the final boss.
Yeah,
I felt like that was the best for me.
Final boss was really interesting. In fact, mostly all the bosses in the game were really interesting.
Yeah, if you had told me you would be fighting a giant fake planet Earth as the final boss, I didn't have that vibe. I only knew about this game from basically Saki being in Brawl as an assist trophy, and I didn't think that's where the game would go.
Yeah, the game goes places. We mentioned
really
you play
does.
as Saki. You also play as you play as two
Iron.
different characters.
Yeah.
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 I did not know. I had a really hard time following track who the fuck was who, except for Brad and Saki.
I mean, Brad.
Major T.
It's such a like they have these weird names. Like everybody's like Saki, Iron, Achi, Kachua, Breda, and then there's this one guy called fucking Brad. I don't get it. Like, why?
I have to think that they knew that was funny, because that is a funny.
I mean, it
love
is
his
funny
boss
as fuck,
fights.
so.
Yeah.
I genuinely love his boss fight. I think his one was my favorite.
Oh yeah, that was cool. Yeah.
It was cool.
It was really easy,
Oh my
though.
god, that level was my favorite level in the game. The part where you're on the floating piece of like concrete and you're
Right.
like going
Yeah.
down the water around the battleships and stuff.
Yeah.
That was the coolest part of the game for me.
That level has so much variation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it. It was so cool. It
It's-
was like a visual feat for me to just watch and play. I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my favorite boss is in that level, the guy that you chase. When Achi's captured, you have to chase him. Like he's going super fast, you have to jump side to side. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah, that guy was really cool to fight.
So I guess it's worth mentioning the premise of the story, as much as you can discern. A lot of this I had to look up after, right?
Yeah, like when I first played through the game, it was jumping from scene to scene, like in so many different scenarios, so quickly. I did not know what the fuck was going on, even after I beat the game.
It
I was
fucking
like,
dumps you right
I had
in
to
there,
sit
right?
down for like a good 20 half hour to try and process what I had just played and try to come up with some sort of logical sense of connecting the dots together.
Yeah.
To figure out what the fuck is going on.
No, me and you were playing it at like the same time.
Yeah.
And I just walk out of my bedroom after like beating the game, and I'm like, what the fuck did I just play?
So like it's set in. I think this is also funny because you can tell they probably planned on this coming out in 1997 because it's set in 2007. You know, it's like set. 10 years in the future, which is obviously not the future anymore. But like Japan is a mess. They say in the game, Japan is falling apart. There's no food. They made these creatures to be eaten as food. They mutated into being these things called ruffians, and now they have to
Ruffians.
fight ruffians.
That's also a very amazing.
That's like,
a
yeah,
great
the main
name.
thing.
What a
But then
dumb
it's
name.
like you start fighting the ruffians, and then this guy appears out of nowhere, wants to like gets the sword of power. Then Saki goes into a bloodbath, literally a pool of blood, and becomes a ruffian. And
Yeah,
then
like half ruffian.
he has and then he goes into this dream state, and then you enter his soul, and you find his kid, and then you have to bring him back. It's just I couldn't
Yeah, you find his kid on a
Kid in the
His
mech
kid.
sent Shinji.
Well, it's your kid too
fact-
because you're playing as the girl. Like I
Yeah.
guess they're in love or something, and it's like, oh, I'm your kid. And you guys are gonna fall in love. I'm like, what the hell's going on?
And they're
Yeah.
both working for a girl named Achi, and she's kind of creepy the whole time. So when she reveals to
Yeah.
be the bad guy, you're like, I'm shocked.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a wild thing. It's wild. It's just
Also, the voice acting too is just so 1990,
It's
what 1997.
Yeah.
Corny.
and they did it, but it didn't come out in the West. It's so weird. Like
Yeah, and they didn't even in the translated version. They didn't even translate any of the actual text until the final credits because there's already the voice acting. So they didn't even translate anything. Even in the official North American Virtual Console release, they translated the menus and then the final credits, like the text. All the text on the screen, the rest of the game is like all Japanese, so it's the subtitles during the cutscenes. But you have English voice acting, which is like, oh man, it's a product of its time. But it's actually, I love it because it's so bad.
Yeah, oh, no, definitely. That's my favorite. That's what I enjoyed about the story. Like, it's localized craziness, and just so much cheese and corniness in it. That makes it so great. It's such a thrill ride to go through.
It seems like they even almost, a couple of times I noticed it was almost has the Sonic Adventure 2 effect where they directly translated the lines to English. So during the voiceovers, like they just almost talk over themselves. Like they're not even done with a line and then their next line starts.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that.
I mean, it's weird because this is a game that you can like feel the restraints a little bit of just like development being weird because it took 3 years, but you know it's not a particularly long game. Like, but apparently the stuff between Nintendo and Treasure was hard. Like the guy, Hitoshi Yamagami was like the supervisor, right? And he played the game, thought it was too hard, and Treasure said, if you can't play our game, you're not going to supervise our game. We're going to ask for someone else to supervise us.
Oh,
and you're like,
shit.
oh god, oh no. And he kept being like he, in interviews now he's still like, they're a weird company, man. I don't get it. But like, but he kept doing that into the future. And Saf, good news for you, partially because of the stuff with Sin and Punishment. He helped manage Xenoblade Chronicles, and he gave them a year-long extension because he didn't want it to end up in a situation where you could feel the corners being cut. So the reason that Xenoblade exists as it does is because of Sin and Punishment in its own little way. So,
Oh, damn.
weird little through line there.
goddamn.
I appreciate the game a little bit more now.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a really good game. I obviously the story's batshit and the controls are a little rough, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's really fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is
it is.
really
It
fun,
is
but
fun.
it's also incredibly short.
No, yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm fine with it being incredibly short. With the amount of shit that you have to do, and like the limited amount of lives you have before you
Yeah.
have to restart, I'm kind of okay with it being like
I
2
didn't
hours.
really. I kept getting enough like multi kills because you like build extra lives. So I
Yeah.
never
Yeah,
really.
like I had
although
like a good
kept dying,
19
I would-
something lives at the end of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd usually like get more lives than I would be losing most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to lose, and I figure that's a product of them making the game easier than they actually wanted.
Yeah.
Because they
I
don't
did
do that.
have trouble on one of the bosses. The one was just like a bunch of boulders on the subway, and yeah. I ran
Oh,
out of
yeah,
time
yeah,
on
that guy,
damn
yeah.
thing. Yeah, I ran out of time twice. Like the first time I ran out of time because I was trying to figure out what the hell I actually had to do to kill it, and then the second time I wasn't able to do it fast enough.
Yeah, he's kind of a bitch.
Yeah, it was kind of a pain. That was probably the hardest boss for me, even though it was stupid.
Yeah.
But it was interesting.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it was
like
definitely a. I know it. I didn't. Speaking of the controls, there's a part where you're almost like side scrolling where you're going through the woods.
I hated that.
I did
part
not like the controls in
so
that
side
part.
scrolling is not
Oh,
work.
yeah.
That was not a good part of the game. That was the worst
No,
part
that
of the
was
game.
the
No,
worst.
it's not.
But yeah, I mean, this is a game where like all the fat is cut. Like they're like, you know, we're basically going to repeat things once at most throughout most
I
of it.
feel like they cut a little bit too much. Like it would have been
yeah.
nice if they didn't cut like parts of the story, or like they broadened it, or like lengthened the story a little bit. But Jesus
Yeah,
Christ,
I honestly would have liked this game to be at least double the length.
yeah.
For me personally, I was having fun.
Yeah, and I think that's it's better, I guess, to like be short and be good than be too long and like make you wish that it was shorter. But
Sure.
it's I think it's an interesting game. It's like the perfect recipe for a cult classic, you know, like it's a beloved developer, never came in the West, is this weird concept both in like the story and the style and in like the actual gameplay, right? Like it's this thing that like there's not a lot like it on the N64, like even kind of now, right? Like there's other rail shooters, but there are no other rail shooters that like do all the weird little things that Sin and Punishment throws at you in the hour that you play it, you know? In a way that I think is cool, but obviously I think there's rough edges sort of on a lot of different parts of the game, but there's a ton to
Especially
still
on fucking
appreciate.
Saki, they're rough as fuck.
Well, with the
every
art style,
character, yeah.
the art
Yeah.
style makes everything all look jagged and
Yeah.
Yeah.
it looks like their shoulder bones or shoulder blades are
Well-
popping right out of their fucking back.
Originally, I was reading about this. Originally, they had way more polygons and way more like joints, but the game ran like garbage. And the thing they noticed that would improve the performance the most is just changing the characters' models themselves and making them not articulate as much, which is why they kind of like.
It
look
makes
the way
sense.
they
Like
do.
that's what you would typically do. You reduce the polygons so
Yeah.
the game can run easier.
I feel like-
they're- yeah.
But I feel like the dark lines and like the sharp angles of the models kind of play into the darkness of the story. You know what I mean?
It does. It definitely does. I think
Like-
it's a
Everybody ends
unique
up
art
looking
style.
like broken and monstrous already, and They kind of are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or at least
yeah.
they become monstrous.
Yeah, when Saki becomes Monster Man, it's not particularly different than how he looked originally. You're sort of like, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
okay, I see that you're different there.
This
But there
is
are,
a reasonable
I mean, all you got
progression.
is hammer
Yeah.
pants. That's it.
Yeah.
but there some of the levels look really good. Like just the opening sequence with you like running through the fields of grain. Right, I was like, dang, like they're going for a look here in a way that I didn't expect, and it's cool.
Yeah.
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 The first
all-
bosses too. Yeah, I just had like there's a lot of stuff going on because it's like you're fighting a psychic girl who's throwing like tons of bodies. Like how many actual bodies were on the screen at once? Like it was
Oh,
crazy.
yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty dope. Yeah, and I like the boss right before her. The dog.
Yeah.
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 Oh yeah,
that,
yeah.
that guy was pretty dope too.
Yeah.
Like together they're like one boss, but yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a lot of variation. It's pretty sweet.
There is,
I would
there is.
bet-
There's a lot of different stuff going on, and even the boss fights are all different, which I gotta appreciate, especially for like a 2-hour game. They don't repeat anything. They just every idea they have is there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they threw everything at the wall, and it all stuck.
Yeah, I was going back to the visuals of this game a little bit, but I wanted to say something like, like the way that they've designed it, the places that you go to in that game, it really, really makes me wonder what it would have actually looked like if it had a little more power, and it makes me kind of excited to just see the game with remade and see like the way they wanted it to be made, like visually speaking.
Damn.
Yeah, like that would be this would be a good candidate for a remake. Like I
know-
like imagine they could pull off some really cool, amazing shit.
You know what you
Yeah.
could do? You could play part 2.
Yeah, Star Successor.
yeah.
That's the weird thing.
Yeah, which got released, I think, everywhere
Yeah.
Yep.
on the Wii.
Honestly.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't remember when this game was released on the Virtual Console at first.
It was the same day that the
2009.
sequel came out. It was in like
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Damn.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. And both are on the Wii U, so you can play 1 and 2 if you have a Wii U, which is neat.
Yes.
Yep.
But it's funny to me too. This like there's a co-op mode in this game that I found out about because I don't. Do they ever mention it in the game? You can do basically. You just have to. One of you does the aiming, one of you does the motion, and that's it. Like you basically just split it right down the middle.
no,
sounds-
thank you.
That sounds
No.
really bad.
Yeah, I was like, this does not seem all right. Then yeah, so that made me laugh.
My God, that's sounds like. I mean, that's interesting.
I mean, it's literally you could share a controller and essentially have the same co-op experience, right? Just like
Wait,
one
so-
of you
Yeah.
grab one leg, one of you grab the other of the controller.
Who does the attacking?
Analog stick person does.
God, it reminds me of like the Octodad co-op.
No, that was fun.
Everyone
Without
controls a
intending for
different
it to
part.
be this silly thing like Octodad is.
Right.
Yeah.
How weird.
Yeah, what a weird
Funny, I
thing.
didn't
Weird
even know
game.
that existed.
Happy to have played it
Weird
though.
game. That's the best way to describe this game. Weird.
It
So did
definitely
anyone
is.
figure out why it's sin and punishment?
Oh, originally it wasn't going to be called Sin and Punishment. It was going to be called Glass
Yeah.
Soldier because Saki was supposed to be so thin. But Nintendo said, we don't like that name. We're going to make up something else. And Treasure's like, well, fine, Sin and Punishment. Okay, whatever that means. So it doesn't mean anything. It's just a thing they made up at the last minute. 'cause
It's
they didn't
just
like the
a
original
cool
name.
title for a cool game.
Glass Soldier doesn't mean anything either.
No,
To
I mean,
be
it's
fair.
literally like, this guy looks skinny. He looks like a skinny guy. Let's name him, he's a Glass Soldier.
Yeah. Well, other things that I read that they suggested was like Earth's successor,
Oh, that,
and also
That would have been more
Wasteland.
fitting.
Which is funny
Yeah.
because the sequel
Because
is called
it-
Star Successor. So, like, that clearly
Yeah.
stuck in their brains.
Yeah. Dark Wasteland was also another one.
Yeah.
And that fits too.
Yeah.
but that's kind of a bad name.
Yeah, that's kind of
That's super generic.
Apparently, it also
Yeah.
tied in like how they were pronounced with like in Japanese versus it's stuff that I don't get. I don't speak Japanese, but it had stuff to do with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad they called it. I mean, Sin and Punishment is a cool name.
It's weird that Saki is like considered the main character when you barely play as. I
I
feel like
had
you
that
play as
thought,
him
too.
not that
Well,
much.
I mean, you
It's
play
like
half and
50-50.
half, really. Like
Yeah.
you play
It's like
Saki
50-50.
first, then you play the girl for 2 levels.
Yeah.
and
But
then
still,
you
like
back to Saki
I
again,
heard of
so.
Saki, I had not heard of Aaron, and I was like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sexism, bro.
Well, because I mean, we all heard of Saki because he was
Patriarchy.
in Brawl.
well, he was in Brawl. That's it. Really, yeah.
Yeah.
Because of Nintendo Power talking about him.
Yeah.
Sakurai is the patriarch, man.
Fucking
Also, we didn't
brutal.
really mention. I mean, I know we mentioned there's a sword, right? But the weapon itself is like a gun, like a handgun with just like a sword. Like
It's a gun sword.
Yeah.
It's a Final
Well, it's
Fantasy
not
gun
necessarily a gun sword. Where it's more, it's a gun with a sword,
Like tape
not
on
a
the-
sword
on
that is a gun.
Yeah.
It's
they call
just a MM9 with a fucking dagger taped to it.
Yeah.
And it's called the
call her-
dolphin, which is
They
funny.
call it a baton. Actually, it's not actually a sword.
Yeah, it's kind of a, it's like a.
They call it a
That's
police baton.
Yeah,
What
because
a
he wants to be a
powerful
cop. They
fucking
mentioned
baton.
It's a,
Yeah.
it's a very sharp baton, but yeah, I mean that's the
a
final
laser
thing.
baton.
I love that the final sequence is like, you want to go be a cop? Yeah, let's. I guess we'll be a cop, and then like that's how the story ends. You're like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
The
I
story
almost
ends
expected
so
more.
weird.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
it's so anticlimactic. I thought it was actually gonna fight Archie.
Just like Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Yeah, that's why I thought there was going to be more, because I thought we were going to have to fight Archie too. and
well,
then
aren't you
when I
fighting
destroyed
Archie?
The Earth.
Isn't the thing
Yeah.
that's surrounding the Earth when you're fighting it supposed to be like a transformed Archie? That's what I thought.
I think so, but it's so unclear.
Yeah, it's not.
Just like the whole game.
Yeah. and then in the credits, it's just her spinning through space, just like, well, she's off doing whatever. That whole twist was so weird. Of like, hey, actually, I'm from space, and there's a galactic war that I've been training you to fight in,
Yeah.
and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I sort of got what the game was telling me until that point.
Yeah,
That was where it lost me.
yeah. And then the stuff of like
was
you
like,
have to shoot him in the
damn.
dream, and then
They lost me after every level.
Yeah, I was lost with as soon as I was dropped into this game. I was like,
Well,
I don't know what's going on, but all right.
I played it a few times. That's why I kind of got it.
Yeah.
The only thing that I actually got is like someday in the future they're gonna have a kid, and now that the war's over, they're gonna have a kid. Like that's so it ended.
Well, see, I thought that was
Sakurai.
just like a dream thing. I thought that was like a vision of the future. I thought that was like a thing that they desired. I don't know. It's a weird thing.
No, it was
No, they
her.
ended-
None of us do. The game didn't explain shit.
Wait, so all right, so it was her trying to connect to his human emotions
Okay.
through a vision in the future
Okay.
to get him to come out of the monster mode.
Yeah.
And
But
then at
she
the
Did you
end
not
of the
get
game-
that?
And then she shoots him in real life.
At the end of the
Yeah.
game as well,
Yeah.
she says, "I have one last mission. It's our child." Like that. That's what I was cool.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
I
they're
mean
gonna-
obviously that's
yeah.
really
Wow.
weird.
Congratulations. This is the one Nintendo couple that's canonically going to have children. Please be excited. Took them an hour where it took Mario and Peach 50 years.
That's the only thing that made
Whoa.
sense. Kind of. It's just they're gonna fulfill their prophecy, I guess.
Yeah. They're going to have their weird kid.
I imagine you play as that
it's
kid in the
literally-
sequel, right? Because it's called Successor. You have to imagine, like,
We'll find out in another game club episode.
oh boy.
Oh, boy.
I mean, that would be great. They can name their kid Siren.
Oh boy,
Oh.
let's just leave Saf here. Our separate ways.
Oh, it worked so well. I'm so happy with it.
Oh boy.
God. Well,
There we go.
so, guys, I'm gonna ask the most important question of all, guys. Would you recommend this game to somebody else who is thinking about playing it? All right, I'm gonna start with Ills. You picked this game. Would you recommend it now that you finally played it?
Yeah, I would. I would just tell them to stick with it because there are really cool sequences in the game that I would want them to get to. Especially the whole second level is really cool, and the end is, pretty crazy. But worth it, worth experiencing. So yeah.
Right, Saf.
I wouldn't. I would recommend other real shooters first, like the Dead Space one, or like to a lesser extent. Well, actually, Kid Icarus. Actually, I would recommend that first. Is to say, like, if you like those two games, try this one. I would do that first before I actually jump into that one.
Dead Space Extraction. Nice shout out to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Very
was a good one.
I hadn't heard that name in a decade.
It's a fun rail shooter.
Yeah.
Will.
Yeah, I would. I value, like, there's times where you value uniqueness and like, but also it's short enough to where the uniqueness doesn't wear out its welcome. And so you're like, man, it was a breezy little thing. I mean, not breezy, it was pretty hard. But when I went through at the end, I was like, you know what? I'm glad I finally played this game, finally got to see what it was about, and it surprised me. And I think that you will probably also have some enjoyment from that too.
All right, Noah.
Yeah, like I'd recommend it on if I ever got into a conversation with someone who's like, "Wait, who's Saki?" and they're like, "Who's this? It's just Trophy." I'm like, "Oh, okay, I got a game to show you." Just let them play through the game and actually experience. Like, it is a very unique game. I can't say I've played anything like it, like as an overall package. Like, obviously I played rail shooters, but it has its own thing. So yeah, that's worth it.
I would also recommend this game. It's an interesting note a footnote in Nintendo's history. And if you're, interested in Nintendo at all and what they do, some of the random weird games they've come out with, this is definitely one of them. And if you are a fan of Treasure and just action games, definitely give this game a shot. I had a lot of fun playing it. Controls do get a little bit, you gotta get used to them. But I think they didn't hold me up at all. I gotta say, I didn't mention it, but they don't hold you up once you get used to it.
Yeah.
So I definitely would recommend this game for sure.
Cool.
That being said, now it's time for the final judgment, where we put this game on the list.
Yes.
Ills, tell us, friend, where do you think this game goes on the list? Also, follow in the paste bin down below in the description if you want to see what we're talking about. I remembered halfway through my sentence, so I'm glad I did.
No, I'm glad you did because I didn't.
That's 2 podcasts in a row, Noah.
Damn, slipping.
Alrighty. I think I would like to put this game right above or below Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver.
I was looking exactly at that spot too.
Very similar actually.
I was gonna put it like just below Alundra.
I don't remember where the fuck we put that.
58.
Yeah, I don't know.
Surrounding it is Alundra and Zack and Wiki Quest for Barbarossa's treasure.
Okay. Alrighty.
Yep.
You know what? That's a good spot. That's
Actually, yeah, I would agree with that.
Time arguing.
Yeah, even though I didn't recommend it, I didn't recommend it because it's just way too out there, and the controls are a bit rough to get used to. That's why I would recommend other rail shooters.
Wait, what?
But controls are a bit rough to get used to.
No, way too out there.
Yeah. I'm so weird. I'm so confused.
Seth, you like
You like
Xenoblade.
Yeah, you love like weird stories. You watch anime all the time. That's
I know, but
You're an
weird
anime man,
stories.
Seth.
my tastes are not going to be. When you say recommend it, I'm not going to talk about the average person.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like
sure.
You're too
much
special.
in this sense, like he's basically saying there are better other rail
Alright,
shooter
I can
or
agree,
anime
yeah,
type games in that style.
I just like the idea of Seth looking at Sin and Punishment and going, "This is too wild, even for me." Like,
Saf is too unique. The modern man can't stand up to his
I think
taste.
my only problem with putting it at where it is if we were gonna put it at 58, Mario Tennis Aces.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I think Mario Tennis Station should probably be moved up. If
Yeah.
I agree, but that's
the nature of the beast.
Until the re-rank.
that's not here or there.
But everything else around it.
Yeah, I would put it below Alundra, but above Legacy of Kain if I were.
Yeah.
I would definitely put it below Alundra for sure. But Zack and Wiki, I mean, I feel like there could be a case. But,
Yeah.
both of these games are real good.
That's the thing. If I'm going to put it below Zack and Wiki, I'm going to put it below Mario Tennis.
Below Mario Tennis,
The
right?
thing about Zack and Wiki is it runs kind of long.
Yeah, I was gonna say in
Yeah.
some ways Zack and Wiki does a couple of tricks too many times for me, where I'm like, you could have cut 2 levels out of this game basically. And I never felt that with Sin and Punishment. It has the opposite problem in some ways. But I think, like I said earlier, I would take being too short over being too long.
Yeah. Brevity, the soul of wit, or whatever.
Yeah, that would.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy
So
with
should we
those,
put
so
it
like I
above
said, it's-
Soul Reaver?
Oh,
I'd put it above Legacy of Kain.
Yeah,
Saf?
sounds about right.
All right.
Okay.
alright, there you go. I was gonna put it below the Legacy King, but
that's going to be putting it at number 58 on the list. Out of 87 games now. So 13 away from Rankomania 2. I think just want to point that out. It's coming.
Oh god.
Coming faster than I think we realize.
Filled with dread.
I'm not. I'm filled with anticipation.
I'm excited because some of these games,
Get ready. Like
when we
Mark
first
mentioned-
placed these, it felt right, but now a bunch of them feel wrong, so we have to fix it.
I was
I wouldn't say too many.
Well,
but
there's a handful at least.
Mario Tennis Aces we just mentioned.
Yeah.
You know, that's one for a candidate for.
it's
you know,
And if you
It's
listen
that-
to the last podcast,
Okay, now the other one.
go straight back to the next.
That too. It's it's funny because there's that thing of like if you keep replacing the parts of a ship, eventually is it just not the same ship anymore, right? The list is sort of that. Like you'll put a thing there, and then 5 episodes later you'll be like, man, this list is completely different than when we put this game on there, and I don't know what we're supposed to do. It's ever shifting.
That is why Rankomania is so very important, right? we get to, fix those things that eventually kind of fall out of place.
But it's also rare enough that it's high stakes. That's the nature of it.
Yes. You got to make your choices. And Mario Tennis Aces, I think, is a good candidate. Not to give any spoiler alerts, but that might be one of
Definitely.
them. Who knows? We have to make our own choices, though. We each only get one, so
Yep.
it's gonna be fun. Anyway, Rankomania coming soon. But number 58 on the list, Sin and Punishment. But surrounding it, we have number 56, Zombies Ate My Neighbors. Very, very good action game. So that's I don't know about that. But Alundra, the placeholder there, kind of blocked it off. But Alundra, number 57, another game that I think might go up on the list if it was me.
Yeah.
But that's also a game club game, so make sure if you're interested in Alundra, and we mentioned it was good. If you want to know how good it is, go check out that episode. One of the first ones we did, actually. Game club. Number 58, Sin and Punishment. You heard all about that. Pretty damn good game. Number 59, Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver. Also interesting game if you want to check that out. We just ranked that pretty recently. Number 60, Zack and Wiki, Quest for Barbaros treasure. I fucked that up. Barbaros's.
There you go.
Yeah, but that's also a game club game, so check that out. And me and Saf really got mad at each other on that.
That was fun.
That one was a treat of an episode to listen to.
It's not super.
But
sorry.
fuck off, Saf. That is where we're at, though. But this is going to be the end of the episode. We've got it on the list. But before we go, I just got to shout out. We are on social media. Check us out, Jump Up Supercast on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook. Make sure you follow us on all of those things to get all your new updates for when episodes are going live. But if you really want to get the jump on everything, follow us on SoundCloud so you can see when the episodes, you'll get notifications on my phone. Or, well, not on my phone, but on your phone. If you want to send me notifications on my phone, I guess go ahead.
For each follower, Brandon will get a notification every episode.
Yeah.
Every episode, I will. But yeah, follow on social media to see when we go live, when episodes are coming up. Every other Thursday, we have a Game Club episode. So, if you like the Game Club, make sure you support us. But we also have the regular every week. We do the Jump Up Supercast. We talk about gaming news. Also add games to the list every week. So that's a lot of fun. If you're interested, just 5-star us, like us, follow us, share us, tell us you love us, leave a comment. Did we fuck up the list?
We've always fucked up the list. Don't have to do it that way.
Well, let us know. Talk to us. Interact. And I just want to thank the fellas for coming out and playing some more video games with us. I appreciate you guys. Thank you, Ills, for picking the game. Thank you, Saf. Thank you, Noah. Thank you, Will. But before we finally say goodbye, we got to play another video game in 2 weeks. And Noah, it is your turn.
It
buddy.
is my turn.
What are we playing?
So I was stuck between 2 games that I really love and were part of my childhood that I want everybody else to experience because they are really good games. And I want you guys to have fun.
Oh.
but
I appreciate that you want us to have fun. That's
This is not a trash
very important.
situation. He's confident.
this is not a Discworld noir
trash is a
situation.
very unique situation. But anyway, but yeah, I was trapped between two games, and I had a really hard, difficult time choosing which one. Then I realized that one of the games, it's the first game in that series got a remake, and I was like, I completely forgot about that. And I only played through halfway because I was going through a different life problems, kind of. And I got kind of sidetracked and I forgot to go back to it. So now's a chance to actually go back and finish it. So we're going to be playing Oddworld, New and Tasty, Abe's Odyssey.
Oh shit!
Ooh,
Oddworld, New and Tasty, Abe's Odyssey.
New and Tasty. That's the remake of the first game, right?
Yep, correct. And they're making a remake of the second one, so I definitely want to play this. And then play the second one when it comes out.
Good timing. I like tying it in with things that are happening in real
A
life.
rare instance, by the way, of a release that's on a current gen console. Because this is on PS4. Oh my god.
And Xbox One. And I already own it because I got it like on sale one day and I haven't even played it yet. So thank you. Very
It's
excited.
$5 on Steam. Not bad.
It's on Switch, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No, sorry, not Switch.
So
Wii
if
U.
you're interested,
It's on Wii U, it was.
It's on Wii U. Yes. So yeah, if you guys are interested in playing this game too, go check it out. It's pretty cheap. But thanks a lot, guys, for joining me. Like I said, and thank you guys for listening. Appreciate it. You guys are the best. We're here because of you guys. Have a great day. Go play some video games and just be nice to everybody you meet.